Well, it looks like we have a really bad internet connection today. So bad, in fact, that it will not even allow us to do the live broadcast. So the girls and I figured out after trying to spend 10 minutes on this, we're just going to go ahead and record this. I'll edit the video and post it up. Unfortunately, that means we don't get to have the interaction with you, and that makes us all very sad. But we are so glad that you're still joining us. Well, even I don't know if I'm not sure quite what the issue is right now. So anyway, what we are going to do is, for those of you guys who are just joining us, what we're going to be doing is we are going to stamp on some bracelet blanks. I got these from toolcandystore.com, which is Micro Tools, and they have various configurations of them, different sizes, different widths, and also different shapes. So you can choose what you want. I believe that these are 16 gauge.
I think the small one would be good for me for a bracelet.
You think so? Well, I picked the bigger one because you want to write stuff on it, right? Or you want to be able to stamp a lot on it. But we can do either one.
Like I would do the small one for a bracelet and have it say unicorn.
Well, we can definitely do that. Because on yours, we're going to have to cut it down anyway. Because you are so little. And your wrist is absolutely tiny. So what we're going to do is...
My finger can't even go all the way around.
It's like you can. Yep.
I mean, this one can, but the other ones can't reach it.
Yep, because you have a little tiny wrist. So what we're going to do, okay, just for a second.
These two can.
What we're going to do is I wanted to share a couple of tips and tricks that I use when I'm stamping, whether it's a bracelet or a pendant or anything like that. And having a thick piece of metal is going to be far better than thinner. Wow. Bumper cars in here. Anyway, okay, stop, honey. So what we're going to do, first of all, is let me show you a couple of the tools that I'm going to be using. So here, what I have is a very, very large bench block, and I mean very large. This is about 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 11, and these are not normally in stock at the toolcandystore.com, but we can get them in for you if it's something you're interested in. I bought this, oh man, I don't know, probably 6 years ago, and I think it was at that time maybe a little over, oh geez, I don't even remember. I know it was over $100, but it has been so nice to have because it's nice and big. Other bench blocks you could use, you can obviously use the 4x4 inch bench blocks, plus there are 4x6 inch bench blocks that would be really good for this.
What do you need the black piece under for? Like, why do you need that?
What's the black pad?
Yeah.
Good question. Why do we need the black pad underneath our bench blocks?
So it doesn't scratch
or move around.
Okay, it doesn't scratch the table. It doesn't move around. What else do you think?
I thought the black part was a part of that.
Yeah.
So if you like hit something and it falls off, you don't ruin your table. Like
right. So yeah. So part of it is actually to protect your tabletop, but the other part is to deaden the sound. You know, have you ever tried hammering on a block on the tabletop versus on a pad? Big, big difference. So, matter of fact, let's take a look at that. So if we take this, we do have hammers. So right now, just to show you.
I think you need that camera. Maybe we.
I already have the camera on.
No, I think we need to fix it so you can see.
Oh, I think you can actually see more.
Scoot over.
I know you can't scoot over. Well, that's because you're dingling there. Okay, so anyway, so what we're going to do, this smaller bench block does no longer have the pad, right? Okay. You hear the difference?
What if you have it like that?
No, it's still going to be kind of loud. So we put them.
Kind of hurts my ears.
I know. Well, it's going to hurt your ears regardless. So anytime.
If it has the pad on, it doesn't.
Well, it still hurts my ears even with the pad.
As much.
Right. Well, it still hurts my ears. So it's definitely. Hang on just a second. So it's still. It's still a really good idea to have a pad or something like that under. It doesn't have to be black. Like there's red urethane pads, there's other things.
Do that pink?
I don't think I've ever seen a pink one. But anyway, it is good to have a pad under here to help deaden the sound. It holds your block into place and such. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys a number of stamps, okay? Now there are some stamps that are really big, and then we have some stamps that are really small. And the way that you stamp with these are going to be a little bit different because it's going to take more force and effort to work with these larger stamps than it is the smaller stamps.
Whenever I do the stamps, I'm scared of accidentally having it fall over and hit my
That is actually a really good thing to kind of be afraid of, right?
So when I
That
go
makes
to
sense.
hit, it doesn't mark it as well as it shows that it, like it doesn't show the picture that easily because it's scared.
Okay.
I'm scared and I don't hit as hard.
You want to know what? We have a couple of tools that we can use to kind of help hold that. And I'll have to go grab them here in just a second.
Well, you gave me a pencil one time to hold them.
Yeah. Yep. So that's exactly right. You can use a pencil and you
But
can...
that's how I was holding the metal.
Yep, you can hold the metal down with the pencil, right, if you're going to be hammering on it. But that doesn't work necessarily if you are doing a stamp.
Yeah,
right, because when we do a stamp...
Stamps scare me.
Do they? Well, I will grab a couple of tools in just a second to show you.
What are you doing, Kate?
Kate's being silly. Okay, so let's say that I want to do a spiral bracelet. So what I'm going to do, I have a whole bunch of stamps in here that have spirals. Can you look in here and see if you can find any of the ones that have the spirals or the swirls? Okay, whoops, there they all go. So we have a couple of different sizes of the spirals. I'm going to just try to find a few of these really quickly on here.
All of them have swirlies.
Yep, that's a little hard. So anyway, I'll just start off with these three, but I know I have a couple of others.
Look, I found feet stamps.
There we go. There are some feet stamps. So one of the things that I like to do, because you guys, what happens if you try to go stamp on your blank? What's going to happen here?
It's gonna move.
Yeah, sometimes it can move
I
around.
found the crown.
Oh, good. Well, that's only one of them. I've got a couple
Can I
crowns.
pull out the puppy one too?
Yep. You can pull out whichever stamps you would like to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some painter's tape and I'm just going to tape this down. It doesn't need to be taped down a whole lot. Now, if I were going to stamp...
These stamps are the
Okay,
ones with
you've got to let me talk for just a second, sweetie. Thank you. So what I'm going... If I were going to stamp a word on here, then what I like to do is I like to take a piece of painter's tape or something like that, and I would line up where I want my text to be. So I would probably measure this out a little bit first, and then I would line this up. And by doing so, now I have a line that I can follow along and line everything up. If my tape is crooked, then what's going to happen with all my text and stuff?
These ones have swirlies.
Yeah, it's all going to be kind of wackadoo.
These ones are the ones that I would like to.
Okay, thank you. That's a lot.
These ones are ones with swirlies.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I want to make, in my case, a whole pattern bracelet. All right. Now, you guys, what is going to happen to our bracelet blank when we go to hammer this?
Swirlies.
Is it going to stay soft or is it going to go hard?
It's gonna go hard.
It's going to go very hard. Okay. So in order for me to bend this afterwards, I may need to anneal it. Okay, so there's a couple of things that you may want to consider. So first thing I'm going to do is I need to be able to support and hold my stamp.
Can you stamp it if you've already bent it?
No. Well, if you have it on a mandrel, so that's a really good question.
It's like, what if you've already bent it and you don't want to have to anneal it?
Why does this one?
Hang on,
still want to
hang on.
stamp it.
She's talking. So that's a good question. You would have to put it onto a bracelet mandrel. And then as long as you have a good connection point between the stamp itself to the mandrel behind it, in this case it's a bench block, but as long as you have that good connection point, then that would work. Okay. All right. So when I'm stamping, I'm going to use a stamping hammer. I want to use one that has brass on it. So this is that fret stamping hammer that's kind of new. And again, this is 25% off right now until April 30th, actually, over at toolcandystore.com.
There goes some.
Well, there they all go. Okay,
Not all
okay. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I need to stabilize this stamp. And I'm going to do that with my hands. Now notice here, I want to keep my fingers down.
Because you don't want to hit them.
I do not want to hit them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my stamp on here. This is a pretty big stamp. Okay, so, okay, thank you. Shh. One of two things needs to happen here. Either I stamp really, really hard, or I'm going to do it in a couple of strikes. If I'm going to do a couple of strikes, I have to be very careful not to let this stamp move. Okay, so notice here the way that I hold this. My fingers are here on the backboard, in this case the bench block, and then my fingers are down low and they hold this nice and steady. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit hard once, and then I'm just going to try it again. If I need to, I can kind of rock the stamp as well. Okay, now I do not have a very deep impression, but that is more because of my stamp itself. Yeah, the stamp itself is kind of a flatter, more broad stamp.
Maybe because we used it?
It could be because it's been used, or it could just be the way that it was cut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another stamp, and I'm going to do the same things. I'm going to stabilize here. Again, I want to keep my fingers down low, and I want to hit nice and hard, and see how much better that one is. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull this off to the side of my bracelet as well. And that way, this is going to be mine. And that way, then I can have part of the design off of my bracelet blank.
Like it looks like a cinnamon roll almost.
It does kind of look like a cinnamon roll, doesn't it?
Like cinnamon rolls.
All right, so I would continue to do this with whatever stamps I'm using or whatnot. Now here's something I want to show you guys.
I think that one's flattening out on the top.
You're right, and that's actually what I was about to show you.
Is that bad or good?
Well, the reason that it flattens out here on the top
Depends on how hard you hit it.
Actually, it depends on how hard the stamp blanket is itself. Now, the fact that this is mushrooming is actually kind of a good thing, because if this were really...
Was the stamp already like that?
No. When I got the stamp, it was like this, where it was nice and round here at the top.
So you want it to mushroom out?
Well, the fact that it mushrooms out tells me that they have not totally hardened the stamp. So that could be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing. Okay, really the place that I need to have hardened is here at the tip.
Because if you were gonna hit, it could go all the way up.
Well, and that's another thing I want to say.
So,
okay, so hang on just a second. Now notice that I was hitting with the brass part, right?
Got little dents in the brass part.
I do have dents in the brass part, and that's okay. But if I hit it with the steel part and I have a hardened steel tool, do you know what could happen?
One of them's gonna break.
Yes, exactly. One of them can break.
The gold's the gold softer with it?
The gold is softer, and that's kind of what we want. So it's totally fine that we begin to get this texture in here, okay? And this part can be replaced. So that's kind of nice, because then you don't have to replace the whole hammer.
Why don't you put one on the other end?
Well, because sometimes you want a steel hammer, but sometimes you want the softer hammer. So good questions, honey. All right, so do you want to try this?
On your bracelet?
You can try it on mine.
Let's see.
Come here. And while you are trying this, I'm going to go grab a couple tools for you really fast.
Okay, you can't look at
Okay, so hang on just a second. So here is a tool that a friend of mine, Jeff Fulkerson, made.
Could you do that or that?
Actually, you don't do either one. So what you do is...
I see.
Nope, you do it like this. So you put your stamp where you want your stamp to be. Right? Then you're going to take the stamp tool and you hold it like this and see how, okay, but all the way down, like that. There you go. And now hold it over here. Yep, just like that. And now see how your hand is clear? Can you get it? There you go. Good job.
Didn't do it.
You didn't do very hard, did it? Oh, careful. See, you got the block. But see, you got the block instead of your hand. So that's one tool that you can use.
Yeah, well, it's hard because you have to hold it like.
Okay, yeah, don't put your hand on top of the block because you saw what happens sometimes. And this is probably a little bit easier for people who have larger hands and it's easier to hold it. You have such small hands. Nope, Kiara has small hands.
Not working.
There you go. It kind of works.
It's the 2 heart one.
It's the 2 heart one? Yep, so let's let Kate try this.
Wow. Kate,
All right,
can you
Kate.
try the 2 heart one for me?
Okay, so let me show you guys really quickly this little stamping block, and it's called a steady stamp.
You could probably even make one.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too difficult to make that for sure.
Kind of hard for me.
But what you do is it's got this little cutout down here, and you'll be able to put your stamp into this.
It's too bad that
And that way you can hold it.
it's too bad that it doesn't have that thing that goes all the way around, so you can just slide it in.
Yep.
That would make it much easier.
You think so?
Maybe we could make that
So-
with a special machine.
With our special machine we're getting? Maybe. Maybe, huh? So another thing that I've done is these swage blocks that my father-in-law made for me is...
He was amazing and made like a whole freaking
He has made a ton of them, huh? Yeah, this one's starting to split a bit. But anyway, so
At least we made more.
Okay, but let me talk.
Okay.
Okay. So what I've done is I've just slipped it into one of the grooves, and then by doing that, I can come in here and just in a similar fashion, I can hold this into place, and it keeps my hand clear of any of that striking edge, and then I can come in here and strike and not have to worry about my
Easy,
hands.
But when I do it, it's hard.
Well, but you've got to remember, Mom is stronger than you are, and I've worked with these tools a
And
lot.
I'm scared.
And I'm not too afraid. I'm pretty confident
what
with
did
my
you
hammer
make?
blows. The double heart.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, so Kate, you want to try? Here you go. Do you want to use either one of these tools, or you want to just hold the stamp?
These are for,
Okay, and you can pick whatever stamp you want.
those are the ones that she chose, I think.
Okay, now is that how you want to hold a hammer?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna have that.
Okay.
Just at the middle.
Okay, so give it a nice strong blow.
Should you do that time?
I don't know. It depends on if your stamp moved or not.
I think it's good.
It's probably good. So one of the things that you want to note is that let's say we put in here a stamp, okay? Let's say that we hammer this. And let's say we get a partial impression. So one of the things you can do, if the impression is good enough, you can try to lock your stamp back into place. Okay, and by locking it in, I mean you take it and you kind of rub it in there.
And you can get it to line up with what you've already made.
Right. And this one might be a little difficult.
Double flower?
A little bit, but not too bad.
Can I
That
do
actually looks
one?
pretty cool.
Yeah, that one actually turned out okay.
Can I do another one?
It looks pretty cool because it's like flowers that go with it. There's just multiple flowers, and we can even add a stem in there later. Wait,
Yep.
can I try this something?
What do you want to try to do? Well, hang on. I want to show.
Like right there.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that in just a
Which
second.
one's the double heart?
Okay.
Looks like a little
What I want to show though,
The double heart.
I do not know, honey. We'll find it in just a second. What I do want to show is these large stamps. These larger stamps are going to be really difficult because they have a lot of detail in them.
But they look really awesome.
They do look really pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, this one requires you to kind of tilt it and to strike. Okay, so you're not going to really ever get a really good impression just coming straight down the first time. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try, but now that I've got part of it, and what I'm doing is I'm just kind of tilting it a little bit. All right, and so here on the bottom where I did the tilt and tap, I actually got a pretty good impression. I'm not being able to lock that back into place easily, so I'm not even going to try. So I have a
looks
double
like
impression a
spider.
little bit. So it's like a dandelion or a firework.
Oh yeah. Can I try one more?
So, well, I'm going to have you do your own bracelet here in just a minute.
Oh, but it's something for
Okay.
you.
So on this one,
Those.
What's that?
We made a magnet out of those. Remember, I had the idea to make it look like a little dandelion was flying away. We made a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do one real
So
quick?
what I'm going to do real quick here, so this, I did not get a really deep impression on the flower portion of this. So this is where I'm going to attempt to get this locked back into place. And there it is. And now that it's locked back into place, no, I don't think he's locked into place yet. So this takes a little bit of time sometimes.
Patience.
Yes.
Which I do not have.
There we go. And now that it's locked into place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt it a little bit to where my design was not as strong.
Careful.
And now, see how much better that looks?
Well, can I
Nope,
try one?
it's not a double flower even, because I was able to lock it right back into place.
Can I try one?
Okay, give me just a second. All right, so what tips did you guys pick up from today's video so far?
So sometimes you need to tilt it.
Okay.
If you don't do well, you
And
need
always
to
use
lock it back into
the
place.
gold-looking side.
Okay, good.
hard.
Yes, we want to use a brass hammer. Okay,
And put a mat.
right, now you don't have to use this brass hammer.
No.
I like this one because it has that steel base to it.
It's like kind of easier for me.
Also, hit it hard, or if you hit it more light, hit it multiple times, but make sure not to move the stamp.
Yes, make
But
sure
I'm
you don't move that
scared whenever
stamp.
I do it.
Like,
That's just because you need a little bit
also,
more
don't hold your
practice.
stamp like this.
What?
Don't hold your stamp like this.
Yes, don't hold your stamp
And
like
hold
that.
your
Yeah,
stamp
she said
lower.
don't hold your stamp like this, and for sure not, because what's going to happen? I mean, Kiara already showed us. Now, you guys,
But
in
look,
my
I hit the block.
in my former life, in high school and in college, I was a percussionist. I can hit the exact same spot every time with my hammer, but not a lot of people can do that.
Let me do percussion.
One time
I'm doing a flute and a piccolo.
Oh, stop!
one
You
time
enjoy
I
it.
actually accidentally hit here. But it
Yes.
wasn't too hard, it was just like bunk.
Yep. When you hit your hand, what does it feel like?
Ow.
Yeah, that's not good.
You could break
So
your
you
bone.
definitely want to be careful, right?
If you were going, you could break your bone.
You can.
It went.
You know what? There's a lot of people, I've
Luckily
seen
it didn't
people
hurt me.
that have gone through and they've hammered their thumb and it breaks the nail and then they bleed and then you get black fingers and it's just not
Oh, I got that twice. One time, so I have like this treasure box thing, and I didn't know, but it wasn't back far enough, and it went
Yep, and it caught your
then
fingers.
right
didn't it?
on
And then
this
a few
finger, I think.
weeks after, or let's see, the week after,
After
it
it
got
healed.
better, she jammed it in our great aunt store.
Yeah.
Because I was going outside and I couldn't
She
see.
likes black fingernails apparently.
I was
I jammed
holding
my thumb doing a backflip on a
blankets.
swing.
Yeah.
I was holding my blanket.
Okay.
I was holding blankets, and then I didn't know my finger was there until it closed. It was like, ow.
And that's about her reaction too.
So first,
So.
I hurt one. Then I hurt two
What?
of them.
That's the paisley. Okay.
So I hurt one, got one
I don't know.
black
They're
finger.
here somewhere.
Then I hurt two of
There's
them
a swirly one.
after.
All right.
So maybe
what we're
next
going
time I'll
to do
get three.
Okay, so what we're
no,
going
no,
to do
no.
is I'm going to let the girls try to stamp their bracelets. What is
can I do
another tip? Hang on. What is another tip that you should do?
One thing I know is really quick.
Put tape.
Yeah, why do we tape it down?
I want to do something
Why do we tape it down?
so it doesn't go whack and fly all
Wow,
over the
it's not
place.
going to fly all over
Well,
the place.
no, like so it doesn't move.
Stem.
Right, it is. It doesn't move. Yeah, I guess you
Let's take a
can.
little stem.
Yeah, I guess we could do that. You want to do that?
Really cool.
Okay.
We can
So,
add a little stem to the flower.
yep, she wants to take this little flower that she added, and we just have a little end swirl here.
And we're gonna make it look like a little stem.
Yep. Or not.
And you hit that with the wrong side of the hammer.
I did hit that with the wrong side of the hammer. So two different things, but I did get the stem.
Intended.
Yep.
Huh? Can I see?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wrong
No,
side of the hammer.
No,
Hit
it's
your
okay.
iPad.
Yep.
Jeez, what were you
So, I don't know. So why did it do that,
Perfect
guys?
example of what
Actually,
happened.
why did it do that?
Did you almost hit your finger?
Well, actually, what happened was I held it okay, but I hit the edge of
Wait, let
the
me see your
stamp
finger.
rather than directly on.
It kind of dented it.
No,
Exactly
It
what
kind-
not to do.
It kind of
Kiara, it didn't do anything to my finger.
But look,
No, that's just a nail job.
Perfect example of what not to do.
Exactly.
it hit her iPad.
Okay. Okay,
You
so
told me it
another
was a
thing,
giant
okay, shh,
phone
another
when you
thing,
got it.
okay, shh. Another thing that you want to be aware of when, do you want to be in my videos anymore or not? I guess not. Okay, so, okay then, shh. Now here's another tip for you. When you are doing text, what I like to do first, especially if I want it to be something centered on my blank, I am going to write it out on a piece of paper and I'm going to count up the letters and the spaces, figure out where the center of that is, draw a line right there. Okay. And then when I'm doing my bracelet or whatever else I'm trying to stamp, I will work from the center out when I'm stamping. And by writing it out, it also makes it so that I am sure to spell the word correctly, because very easily can you just grab the wrong stamp. So that's something that you want to be aware of.
Is that YouTube video where we did the bracelet matching Izzy and I on YouTube?
Yes.
Wait,
that video.
Yes, we do have a video. So Beaducation kindly sent Kate and I a couple of stamps a while back, and Kate did a video where she showed making a matching bracelet for herself and one of her American Girl dolls. So, okay, well,
can I do
regardless.
something?
So anyway, that's something that you can definitely watch. What are you wanting to do? Okay, be very careful.
I've still got the bracelet and it still fits me.
Good.
But Isabel's is off of her because it turned her plastic green.
Oof. You know. Okay, be very careful.
Geez, dolls are just like people. It turned her skin green.
Okay, I can see right now that your stamp is moving a lot.
Mama, dolls are just like people. It turned her skin green.
Yep, there you go. Okay, so you're going to try the steady stamp. Do you want me to hit the hammer for you? When you're 9 and you're tiny, sometimes it's still a little bit harder. So tell you what, you put it into position. Is that where you want it?
Do it.
Is that where you want it? There you go. How's that? Is that the crown?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the little crown. Now another thing that I like to do before I form these is I like to sometimes do kind of a decorative edge on this. Now you don't always have to, and I don't always do it, but sometimes it's just kind of nice to do this. Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a planishing hammer. I'm going to take the rounded end of my planishing hammer, and I'm just going to work right here around the outside edge of this bracelet.
And this is that hammer texture.
It gives you a hammered texture, and what it does is it takes it from a piece that just came out of a package and turns it into something that has been totally touched by a hand.
Does it stretch it out?
It can, but this little bit is not going to stretch things out very much. And really all we're doing is just adding a little bit of texture, and it's also going to give it a little bit of sparkle too. Okay, and so it doesn't take very much at all, and of course I would remove the tape and I would do here around the ends also. Now this is going to harden our bracelet a bit, so keep that in mind. The more hammering you do, the harder it's going to become, and the more difficult it's going to be to form into the bracelet. And we'll look at that here in just a moment.
Why did you do that?
Now another thing too, Kate wanted hers to have just a little bit of stamping on it. Oh, there's your starfish. Do you want it? All right.
On it, but
well, we can still. it's not too late. We're still taped down. So anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to use an embossing hammer. And this is going to allow me to really give a nice hammered texture in some of the areas and maybe even in between some of the stamping that she has here. It's just a fun little design. So what I'm going to do is just take this embossing hammer. I'm going to take the larger end and just kind of go around to give, yep, the little bubbles, the little dimples.
Little bubbles in the water.
And obviously you could put these together a little closer. You can spread them out. It just depends on what you want to do.
So what happens if you do that before you do it?
No, you can totally do this before you do your stamping as well.
I found a baby.
Matter of fact, let's say that we've made a goober. Did you know that you can kind of erase your goober? You can kind of erase the goober by hammering it out. Now, it's not always going to do it, and sometimes you have to do a little bit more effort and work, but you can remove some of your stampings. All right, so that gives us our little bubble look that we were kind of after. And there, I think we're kind of good. So again, if I want to, I can pull off the tape and hammer out here. I can hammer over the tape, but I find that it makes a bigger mess when I do that.
It's difficult.
Hey, Mom.
It just is, yeah, it's a mess to remove because the tape kind of
gets stuck inside
yeah,
the bubble.
it does. It does. So now that we have the design all completed, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take a permanent marker and we're going to go over the design, and then we'll come back in and remove off of the top surface. Now you want to give this just a second to dry, and once it's dry, I like to take the little polishing pads that you can get, and again, I'll link these in the video as well, and I'll just go over the entire bracelet and just remove any of that excess permanent marker, removes it right off the top, and you're good to go. So now we are done. Kate has also colored hers in and removed all of that permanent marker on hers. And now what's left is we are ready to form these. So there's a number of ways that you can do this. Like you can use a bracelet mandrel with a hammer, but there's also a couple of other tools that are out there that make this job a little bit easier. And one of these is a ring bender. Now this was originally, Kevin Potter used to make these, but now Joni Kisro is the one that designed and is making these. So you can contact her at getahammered.com and you can purchase those there as well. So what I like to do with this is place this into a vise on my bench. I'm just going to insert this into here like so. And Kate, I'm going to have you come in here and form yours. So what I do is I'm just going to release this a little bit, and then we can put our bracelet into this, and then I'm going to close it down so that it kind of holds it. And now what you're going to do is you're going to start to bend it around. Now notice how small this is, and it's round. So I don't think you want to form it directly to this. Does that make sense? So we're going to do the edges, the outside edges, and that's going to give us more of an oval shape. Okay? So what you want to do is come in here and push this up, and it's going to be a little bit harder because we've hammered your metal and we have not annealed this, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're putting all your force right here, but what's going to happen is it's going to bend out here. Exactly, there you go. And you want to push it just right up against the mandrel there, or in this case, our bracelet former. Okay, now at this point, go just a little bit further, I think. Okay, now we're going to pull this out, because when I do, notice that we've got that nice curve started, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here on the other end, and we're going to do the same thing again.
Did we take the plastic thing off of
Okay,
this?
and I would say let's go just a little bit further. All right,
Did we
and
take the plastic?
yes, we did take off the plastic on that one. So I'm going to turn it around, I'm going to put it back in again, and we'll just bring that down around just a little bit more. Okay, and we may not be able to get this off easily. So notice that now we have where it kind of is starting to get there, right? But that's still kind of an awkward shape if you were to wear it on your wrist, because that part's going to come up. Yes. So you have a number of ways that you can do this. I have really strong hands, so a lot of times I can just manipulate this with my hands a little bit. But if you don't, you can always put this onto an oval mandrel, or there are multiple inserts for this particular bracelet former.
I can't do it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. So because we have multiple inserts, there's some smaller ones too.
Wait, we need to use that one for this one, right?
No. So what we're going to do is we'll insert this back onto here.
Can we use the small one for mine?
Whoops.
Ow.
You want to grab that, please?
Oh no, are you going to hit me with it again?
I don't know, maybe. Here you go. All right. Honey, sit back just a bit. You're right. Your head is right in the camera. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, again, slip this onto our bracelet former, and I'm going to pull it out just a little bit so that it's just the end that is sticking out, and I'm going to bring that up and around. See that? So I'm going to use my thumbs to do that. I'm going to pull this off here, and now you see how that's curved that around? That's more of what we want to see, and that will allow you to put that onto your wrist. So I'll slip this back in here. Again, I'm going to put just the end of it in there. Close that down. And once again, I'm going to bring that in, closing it down on the ends of that. Okay. And this one. All right. And that's a lot better shape, don't you think? Okay. So you can go ahead and try to put this on. Your wrists are pretty small. You want to have typically half to a full inch of an opening right here. Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead and try to put that on. You know how to put a cuff on? You sure do. You put it here. So we might need to open it up just a bit. But what you do, pull your wrist out here. So when you're putting on a cuff like this, you want to put one end into the soft part of your wrist right here.
I hate putting on cuffs because they're painful.
I know. But you put it onto the soft part there, and then you can bring it around and close it up. And there's your cuff.
Can we use the small one for mine?
Actually, I'm going to do yours a little differently.
No, it hurts.
I'm sorry. Okay. So on Kiari's bracelet, because her wrists are so tiny that...
We did like a
What?
thin one.
Okay.
We did a thin one.
We did do a thinner one.
I was planning to do this one, but instead I did this one.
Yes, we
Because
did.
my wrist is small.
So in this case, I'm actually going to wrap this bracelet around this, but I'm not going to go right around. I'm going to do it kind of in a spiral. Okay. Do you know why?
So it's gonna like go.
Yep, it will. It'll kind of coil around your wrist. So what we're going to do is put
Can I
this
push
into
it?
place. Yes, of course. So notice that on this one, I'm coming out at an angle. Okay, so go ahead and come here and push it up against this. Okay. Yep, use your thumbs. Okay. Now I'm going to loosen this up and we're going to move it around like this. Okay. Push it all the way against that. Yep. There you go. And you want it to come off to the side of it. Okay, let's see. Good. So now what we have is it's going to overlap each other. So how am I going to get this off of here?
You just...
Yep, we have to take the whole thing off. We can't just slip that off right now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we have this...
Like once you take that off, you can slide it off.
We can slide it off.
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly. And what I want to do is I'm going to open it up just a little bit further. So this way, now you can take this and hand me your wrist. We are going to slide it on like this. See that? And we're going to come around like so. And then we can kind of close it up just a little bit. So now there is your cuff. Let's see, like that right there. And there's your cuff. So we hope you enjoyed this little video. I know it didn't work out for the live video and we apologize for that. Maybe tomorrow the internet gods will be with us and we'll be able to do it again.
Or maybe we should change it.
Maybe we should change the time, huh? Regardless, we'll be back tomorrow and we will see you guys then. Have a wonderful day.
Have a happy unicorn day.
Have a happy unicorn day.
Bye. Bye.